Hey everybody, this is Secondhand Dan on the road. I'm in South Carolina. South Carolina, it's balmy 54 degrees here on this December 16th, day after the anniversary. Road trip. Hey, check this out. Just want everybody to know that be careful out there. Nope. I think that load has done shifted a little bit there, huh? I don't think that's safe. But I passed him probably 45 minutes ago, stopped at the rest stop for about 10 minutes, got back on the highway, and ended up passing him again. So I'm sure all the other truckers have alerted him to his load, which is kind of cattywankle there. I think it's plywood. Would make me nervous if I was cruising alongside him. Hey everybody, Secondhand Dan coming to you from South Carolina land. Cruising down the interstate here. Sun is shining, clear skies. Take a look. That is some clear skies, pretty blue. But while cruising down the highway, I couldn't help but notice this vehicle here in front of me. We got a semi-truck with a load leaning at a crazy angle. He's trying to dangle the angle. I actually passed him 45 minutes ago. I stopped at a rest stop for 10 minutes, got back on the road, and I come up on him again. I thought he would have gotten off the road and said, I better do something about this load. Looks a little bit dangerous. Looks like it's plywood. Don't worry, me, I got both hands on the wheel here. Well, that's the most unique thing I think I've seen on this road trip so far. So if something else pops up, okay, there's a logger on the side road there. Well, keep my eye out for anything more interesting. Stay tuned. I'm actually traveling in my 2008 Lexus RX. I drove this thing all the way back from Homosassa, Florida to Pittsburgh, PA, and that was a rough trip. I haven't had too many trips in the past that were rough, but that one qualifies because this thing was acting up. It was burning out coils, ignition coils, on the cylinders every 100 miles or so, and it was rough because the car was barely creeping along at some intervals. But right now, going from Pittsburgh down to Florida, it's been cruising pretty good. We put the problem was, I thought it was just the coils were defective, but it turns out that the spark plugs were defective. Not just worn out, but defective, because before I left Florida last year for Pittsburgh, I had actually put new coils and new plugs into this thing. The reason the coils were burning out was, I guess, they weren't supporting the defective plugs. So the coils would burn out, you'd put a new coil in it, and it would work until the next coil would burn out. So it wasn't until I limped it on home to Pittsburgh after spending, I think, about $1,000 between the two different stops. I had mechanics looking at it and to try and diagnose what was wrong with it and get me back on the road. And I had one guy told me it was the ECM, the computer, but it wasn't until I got to Pittsburgh, and I think it sat in my parking lot for about 2 months. I finally took it to a local mechanic, and I gave him the whole scenario about how it was burning out coils, and he worked on it, and he replaced coils again, and said I must have had bad coils. But I said, look, it's not even idling properly. So he put a scan tool on it, and we've got the idle to where it should be. Well, I got not even 100 yards away from his establishment, and then the thing started shaking again. So he turned it around, and I left it with him, and he eventually got into changing the spark plugs on it, even though I had changed them only like 2,000 miles ago, and it's been fine since replacing the plugs. And the plugs that I put in it were supposedly Toyota. I did buy them through eBay, and that's the first time I ever had an issue with an auto part that I bought on the internet. Of all the auto parts I bought on the internet, I mean, why did it have to be those? Why couldn't it have been something simpler, like a crappy lug nut that would strip off? Or no, it had to be the plugs, which ended up costing me another $1,000, because I think one mechanic on the way home I gave like $700, and I think he changed 2 plugs and 2 coils. And I thought that was an exorbitant amount of money, but you know, you kind of held hostage. I know the job wasn't a cheap job, but it shouldn't have been that much. I could see 400, but anyway, beware, because I would have sworn these were Toyota plugs that came in the official looking box, and they somehow, some way, they're knockoffs, which I wouldn't mind even if they were just knockoffs that were not legit. But couldn't they have been not legit and still at least worked half decent? Not been total crap? If they were total crap, and it ended up costing me all kinds of money. Alright, well, take a break from that rant, get back to some serious driving. I'm a couple 100 miles from my final destination. I've got about 3.5 hours of driving to go. Like I say, the motor's been running fine. I do detect a slight vibration. I think the tire's not properly balanced, but that I can live with that. I mean, it's subtle, but it's there. But the other factor is, and I noticed it even before I left, when braking, there'd be a slight knock up front on the initial. When you'd stab the pedal, there'd be a donk, and I could get the noise to repeat itself, sometimes even going when I would back it up. So I'm not sure if I got a bad ball joint or bushing or link pin. I couldn't do much about it in Pittsburgh. I was actually going to have the mechanic look at it before I left. I was calling him on Friday because I was supposed to leave on Sunday. I was leaving on Sunday, but he never answered his phone, and I tried him several times during the day. I figured if we could just roll the car in there and confirm exactly what's making that noise, I would have felt a lot better. But I just went ahead, and we were rolling down the road anyway with, like I say, it doesn't go bonk. It's a slight bonk. It's not like a bong, just a bonk. Whenever you stab the brake, we would come up to a stop sign or something like that. So I believe it's going to get me all the way down to where I'm going, and then I'll diagnose it myself, because I have the tools where I live down here in Florida. So I'll let you know, and we'll do a video on that job. If any of you guys is actually a YouTuber that posts stuff, you can give me a couple pointers. I've been using my phone for the past year to do my videoing. I've been seriously consider buying a GoPro, but I've almost bought one. I met somebody and they were late. They had all kinds of excuses, and then they said, never mind, my wife's coming, she'll meet you. And I'm like, forget you, bro. And I left. I said, I'm not waiting around. But so I didn't get that GoPro. GoPro, I'm actually learning, is what's known as an action camera. So I mean, I'm a guy of some limited actions, but you know, I'm not going to be mountain biking or skiing or parachuting. My actions are just various projects. So I'd like to know what camera you recommend. Now, I know that the newer GoPros, they have a screen on the front and the back, and that's important to me because using my phone, I have to turn it around. If I hit the button one way, I got to pick the phone up and turn it around. I really like using the screen as a monitor so I can see myself. I know with the new GoPro, it has a small screen on the front of it, so. But I'm thinking of maybe just skipping the GoPro and going with a more camera-esque type camera. I don't know why GoPro, you think that they would put out one that would just be more vlogger friendly rather than action friendly. All right, well, if you guys have any ideas, they're all over the board though as far as prices on those things. And especially, I mean, you can get one for as little as $80, but I'm not worried about spending little money. I just want to get the most bang for my buck. So if I spend $200-300, I just want to make sure I'm getting the best bang for my buck. Oh yeah, it's another thing I learned about GoPros. You don't have digital zoom, and I feel that's kind of important. But right now I can reach up, well, not on this side, but I can't zoom you. But when I'm looking out the other side of my lens, I can reach up and zoom with my fingers whatever my viewfinder sees. But when I'm using the screen as a monitor and looking at it, I can't do that. If I flipped it around and had it set the other way, but then I couldn't see myself enlarging it while seeing myself. And I'm using my GPS on the phone. Every once in a while, it'll ask me, is there a stalled vehicle ahead? I'm like, okay, yes there is. But when do they actually just say there is a stalled vehicle ahead? Instead of just asking me, because I don't know until I approach it. It would be, I guess, it would be good for me to know in advance that it's actually there. But it does help you keep an eye out when they ask you if there's one. That one that we just passed, I mean, it was kind of close to the actual road, but it was off enough where I think its corner just lined up with the berm over there. But if you got a wide load or you're not paying attention and you tend to drift over the line, somebody might come in contact with that. If you can hear that rattling noise, I got a luggage rack on this vehicle, and it's been a constant rattle. And I thought I had muffled it before leaving for this road trip, but I know there's two crossbars on it, and there's two side rails that run down the side of on the roof on the left and right, but then there's two crossbars. I believe it's the crossbar that's rattling. So I'm debating whether to just take the crossbars off, because I don't think we ever put anything on the roof of my other Lexus, but maybe once, if that. Thank you for visiting South Carolina. You are welcome. Spent a night in South Carolina. My wife and I, king size bed. At home we have the queen size. When we get to our place in Florida, it's actually a full size. Wouldn't mind upgrading to a queen size down there, but it might be a little tight in that bedroom. Georgia. Beautiful, beautiful. Starting to see the Spanish moss in the trees. It just occurred to me, I was thinking of that Beatles song, you know, back in the USSR, because they mentioned Georgia in there, and I never realized till now there's actually a Georgia in Russia. They always say Georgia is always on my mind. I always thought they was talking about the United States, Georgia, but they was talking about Russia, Georgia. The Beatles didn't actually tour there as a group though in Russia, so I don't know why they wrote that song. Unless I don't know what I'm talking about. Tell me what's up with why did they write that song? Why were they hip to Russia? Back in the USSR, that was a communist country, still is. So, were they touting the virtues of Russia? Because I know a lot of your rock and rollers, especially back in the day in the '60s, thought communism was the way to go. So, you know, in the comments down below, tell me what that's about. Why were the Beatles singing about Russia? For those that thought Coleman just made lanterns, no, they make travel trailers too. I'm actually a motorhome guy myself. I've had 3 different motorhomes. Well, no, 4. I've had 4 different motorhomes. Now I had a tag-along trailer at one time, but it was a pop-up. And pop-ups, they're only good for camping, because if you're in a pop-up, you just don't say, oh, I've been driving for a couple hours, let me pull over to the rest stop and sleep in my pop-up. No, you just don't do that. It's too much work. You gotta crank them up and fold the canvases out and the supports, and then it looks like you're planning on staying for days when you put a pop-up up. But when you're in a travel trailer or a motorhome, you can just pull into the rest stop and say, let's take a nap for a couple hours and then get back on the road. So pop-ups are only for camping, and we enjoyed it. We did the camping thing for a couple of years. Took my wife, my 2 sons. Sometimes we have somebody else with us, but my son, the oldest son, loved to go fishing while we were out camping. My younger son, he'd like to hang by my side, build the bonfires and go on the hikes. But eventually I moved up to my first motorhome. My first motorhome came from California, and I bought it on eBay, not knowing anything about motorhomes. And all the pictures they showed, it looked like a sweetheart of a deal. I thought, okay, well, it's old, but look, it's old in great condition. Well, they only took the pictures of the things that were in great condition. It did not take the pictures of the things that were in rough condition. So I wanted to cry when I got there and saw that thing, because I'd already paid for it. But fortunately, it wasn't an arm and a leg. I don't know if it was like $2,500, but you know, I flew out there and you know, it ran, it drove, and I got in it eventually, and started heading back to Pittsburgh from California. But I stopped at the Hoover Dam on the way back home. And while driving it though, it had the roll-up awning on the side. That thing started, even though it was rolled up, it started shredding. I was in the rolled up position, and I had to get out there and take it completely off the roller, because it definitely was attracting a lot of attention with this banner of a canvas hanging down the side of the motorhome. I just learned too that that's called a tractor, even though it looks like a pickup truck without a bed. depending on the state, you can have it registered as a tractor. That's what they call the front end of a semi, the tractor. But if you put a flat bed on it of some sort, then you can have it registered as a truck.
Master B. What? You just, I don't think he's like Grace.
Say howdy, Audi. And Nissan too.
Master B.
The blue skies are gone.
Dottie said when she
I think somebody's burning
herself, and when he said,
well, if it ain't a controlled burn, it's definitely a forest fire out of control. But this is not fog because it smells burnt, and it's been this way for the past couple miles. So whatever, is it a low pressure system keeps the smoke from rising?
You already knew it. First thing he said was she got built-in babysitter now. Sure do.
There's traveling first class in a motorhome, the Tiffin. I've never had anything that big. I've had like a 30-foot motorhome, a C class. And I just sold my C class last year because I have a place to live in Florida, so I wasn't utilizing the motorhome. We've had the place now, I guess, 3 years.
Like TT, she just looks at herself. Where she sits on top of stuff, she just looks at herself like this. And she's like, "Come here." No, I'm not coming to sit on top of stuff.
There's an oldie. The Pace Arrow. What is that? Like early '80s?
But yeah.
Hey, there's a PA plate.
Didn't hear nothing about Diane, Maddie's cousin, on Facebook or anything, did you? You probably didn't know, right?
Diane was married to.
Oh my goodness. Somebody didn't say everything.
Well, that's a bit of a shock, seeing a car upside down like that in your travels. It had traffic backed up for, looked like 3 miles. And we saw one car, we don't know if there was a second car involved. I mean, it was on its roof, but the roof wasn't crushed, so I'm not sure how badly somebody would be injured in that situation, but we wish them well. I still have overcast skies. For a while it was because of some smoke, but the smoke eventually just turned into overcast skies. But it's still rather warm though, 63 degrees. So I'm happy with that. Had the sunroof on the car open briefly, but it's noisy with the sunroof open. But we're about 2.5 hours from our destination. Sign said Buc-ee's is like 62 miles ahead. If it's in our route, because it could be 62 miles, it could be 30 miles, and then you got to turn off the interstate and go another 30 miles down a different interstate. So I'm not sure exactly where it is, but Hopefully it's en route and we'll be able to stop there and grab a little lunch and some petrol. We have arrived in Florida, our home away from home. 63 degrees right now. I'm sure if it wasn't overcast, it'd probably be about closer to 70. Blue skies are back. A couple of clouds here and there. Pretty clouds. Look at this brand new, what is that, a Volvo? I'd like to rent that for my kid's birthday party, for my grandkid. Oh, he'd sit on my lap and we'd drive it. Just give us 50 acres somewhere. Well, I've got about 10 miles to go on this stretch of highway. And I don't want to do it all looking at this guy's trailer. Let's move over. Silver alert. That's what the sign up ahead said, overhead. I think it's like an amber alert for somebody elderly. Usually a suspected dementia, Alzheimer's person is lost. Maybe they got in their car, were driving and have no idea where they're at. Family puts a APB out on them, so that would be your silver alert. Well, I think we missed the Buc-ee's. I just don't think it was on our path. I don't think it was meant to be. I've been to the Buc-ee's, what, maybe twice? So I can't say I've never been there, never done that, but it is time to start looking for gas regardless of where I get it. Cruising range is down to 55 miles, so time to gas up. Really congested with the trucks here. Oh, I gotta merge. Slip in front of this Pathfinder. Excuse me, Pathfinder, while I borrow your path. Lake City, 47 miles. Is that kind of like Atlantis, but just not as impressive? Well, I get off in 3 miles. Looking for a gas station. Cruising down Interstate 10. This 10
In 2
will take you all
miles,
the way
take
out to
exit 343 toward
California.
US 301 South.
Stick with it. That's why we have to get off of it. Right now we're going west. And we need to be going south again. Big pontoon.
Take exit 343, then use any lane to take the ramp to US 301 South.
All right, gotta switch it up. Stop going west, let's go south. When you come down from Pittsburgh, it's generally, 80% south, but a little west has to be thrown in there to...
Use any lane to take the ramp to US 301 South. In half a mile, use any lane to turn right onto US 301.
Yeah, when we used to drive the RVs, we would always have to
At the light, use any lane to turn right onto US 301
find
South.
a gas station that not only had gas, but also maybe one that had a dump station so you could empty your
Continue on US 301
tanks.
South for 22 miles.
But there's plenty of gas stations up ahead now on 301 South here. Going 22 miles on 301 South. And look at these guys, they're all hauling the same thing. Big diesel, they're generators. They got the one half of it covered up with a tarp. Probably the generator half. Biggest radiators I've ever seen on anything. Love them blue skies. I think we're gonna slip on into the Pilot. $2.97 a gal. All right, all right, all right. Hey, they even got the pumps at a slight angle. That's nice.
In 600 feet, turn right onto US 301 South. Take the next left toward US...
This is the lowest I've run the tank on this trip. Usually it was half a tank before I had to fill up, but here we go, putting the petrol in what I call the Green Ghost. It's a 2008 Lexus RX. It's got a slight champagne silver green hue to it, so I call it the Green Ghost. I bought this car in Florida. Actually bought it at an estate auction. Not a car auction, but an estate auction. And the price was right. And even after I had to dump in another $1,000 into it after the fiasco with the ignition coils and spark plugs, it's still probably easily $3,000 less than we would have paid retail off of somebody's lot. And it's a good car. So I'm out here basking in the sunshine now. We'll be going down that highway for 20 some miles. I've been averaging 25 miles a gallon. My only concern right now is, like I said, when I stab the brakes, there's a bonk noise, so there's no grinding of the rotors. So I'm not sure. I think it's coming from the passenger side now. You can see that rotor looks squeaky clean. So I'm suspecting like the ball joint in the lower control arm. That's what I'm suspecting. But with only a 150 miles to go, I'll make it to my home here in Florida, and I will be able to service this vehicle there. Gas is pretty much the same price it is back at home right now at this location. I found it cheaper along the way, but right now I'm paying $2.97, and I've paid as little as I think $2.65 on this road trip. All right, well, it's topped off. I think I'll try a little more. I mean, I won't go like 20 clicks, so just there, it's done. I'll give you one more shot, and after it clicks in my hand again, I'm done. I don't like one of those people that keep on click. Back it out a little bit, try again. Put another half gallon in, click. That's not good for your evaporation, your emission system. You put too much gas in it. It's 70 degrees. I think 75 is the perfect temperature if you had to pick one temperature for the rest of your life. Now, if you had to pick a range of 10 degrees, I'd say between 65 to 75. You know, some people like it hot so they can go swimming, go to the beach, but I'm cool without swimming and beach. I can go to the beach when it's 70 and just 75 and just chill on the beach itself. Don't have to go in the water. I actually prefer a heated pool. See that? Yeah, it was a trailer backing around or something. I think I'm willing to bet he was the cause of it.
Yeah.
He probably made. They're painting the lines.
Now, the problem was all those ones directly behind them. They should have been the first ones to go around.
Yeah. Unless they're fascinated with it. They're hypnotized. We have arrived. This is our local watering hole here in Homosassa, Florida. It's like 75 degrees, but you know, we got a little bit of cloud cover, but a little breeze, but still a pleasant atmosphere. We're at a place called McRae's, and this is one of our favorite places to get our fish sandwiches.